Well, good morning, everybody. It's so nice to have you all here on the call today. Um, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Tom Hubric, and I'm the president of Hubric Resources. And we're an HR consulting firm. We have offices in Reading and Lancaster, Pennsylvania, but we have about 500 clients across the country, from New York to Florida to Texas to California, and we do everything HR. And I'm really happy to have John Ziss and Yvonne Nikolov with me today to talk about AI, because as we know, AI is all the buzz these days, and talking with a lot of my clients, some folks are really along the path towards it, and I have a lot of other clients that are probably more like me, where I'm using it for a lot of research and things like that, which has been invaluable, but a little nervous to pull the trigger to go much further. So really happy to have you both here and see what you can tell us. Just a little bit of background for the group about John and Yvonne. John's the co-founder of Parallon AI, and has spent decades across the table from business owners and CEOs. He's a Vistage chair, and he leads a peer group of executives working through the real decisions of running and growing a company, and he runs his own business as well. At Parallon, John learns a company before anything gets built, finds where time and money actually leak from a company, and makes sure that any AI the firm deploys is tied to a clear return and actually a problem worth solving. And Yvonne Nikolov is the technical co-founder of Parallon AI, and the person who builds what the firm actually delivers. He turns the repetitive manual work inside a business into AI systems and agents that run reliably, with a human still in control of anything that really matters. An engineer by training, Yvonne moves fast from problem to working system, and is straight about where AI fits and where it doesn't. So again, guys, really happy to have you here today. Again, every business I talk to, we're talking about AI. I belong to a CEO roundtable with the High Center, and AI is all the buzz with our group as well. But a lot of times people just don't know where to start, and as I said, myself included. So, John, you sit across the table from CEOs, every week as a Vistage chair.
hmm
What are you actually seeing out there?
Yeah. First and foremost, Tom, thank you very much for having us. It's an honor and a pleasure. I see a lot of people just trying to figure it out, and there's a lot of stress and anxiety around it. That's number one. And it's easy to get stressed and anxious about this because it's coming so quickly, and a lot of folks just, I don't know where to begin. I know we have to do something, but I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. And in fact, it's moving at a pace that I don't think we've ever seen in our lifetime. Not even the internet moved at this pace. It was, 6 months ago, you could not do what you can do today. And 6 months ago, it would have been fits and starts. Now it's just it's a completely different ballgame, and that rate of acceleration of technology and rapid change is going to only get faster and faster. So really, it's about let's pause. Let's pause and really understand what are we trying to solve instead of just throwing technology at something.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, that certainly is true. So if like going wide is kind of the mistake, where does a business owner even look first inside their own business?
Yeah, we for going wide, and by the way, I'm pulling this up so everybody can kind of
Yeah, of
follow
course.
along on our
Hmm.
deck here. It's because if going wide is where you're trying to boil the ocean, and throwing, even as good as AI is today. when you try to go wide with something, you're putting finite resources towards a myriad of things that don't have, a clear scope sometimes. So what we've seen is the ones who win, they go narrow. They tie it to a clear number, and they keep a human in the loop. And Yvonne, when we get to the next slide here, Tom, Yvonne will talk about kind of like three principles that we look for in anything that we talk to somebody about AI. We will tell them at nauseam, hey, just before you do anything, check these three boxes. Make sure you check these three boxes with anything you do, regardless of what large language model you're using and anything like that. We care mostly about practical application of AI versus, hey, let's talk about large language models and how they infer data and which ones are out there, Gemini, GPT, Claude. That's for another session. This is really about practical application of the tools that exist today.
Yeah, maybe I can say a couple of words here.
Sure.
What we're observing, and I don't think this is a secret, but how people go wide these days, the most common implementation is they just try to use the AI for everything to a degree where it gets confusing, but mostly the implementation is a chat box. So it's almost like chatting with Google or doing searches or helping with edits of emails and general documents and stuff. But that is the wide application. And what we're going to share here is what are the ways to go narrow to pinpoint one specific system or process that can be systematized that saves hours or money or both to a business. In defense of everybody who is kind of a little bit behind on adoption, I would say I totally understand that. I went through my own internal dialogue around this many months ago or a couple of years ago. But right now, for some of us, it feels like there's a new species showing up on the planet. And we are used to being the most intelligent species on the planet. We still are in a biological form, but the synthetic form is catching up really quickly and surpassing us in many domains. And so it feels unsettling. And I completely understand that. So yeah, John, if you want to go to the next one.
Yeah, that is it. It is unsettling. It's exciting and unsettling at the same time. Is what I'm hearing a lot of people. Is what I hear a lot of people saying, for sure. So
Yeah.
So guys, you've built this for real companies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Walk us through what it actually looks like. From the problem to developing the
Mm-hmm.
solution, and then what's the result that comes out of it?
Yeah, that's a great kind of point there, Tom. We're going to walk you through a couple case studies right now, actually, and talk about the practical applications of this. And first, though, before we go in that, I want to set the lens of what we look through. And each one of these case studies, I think, has these three principles in place. So, everybody's touched manual paper before, right? And I say, like, one of the things that you can look for in your organization to easily identify what might be a potential. Yeah, there you go. What might be a potential for automation in your organization using AI? It's always walk around your organization, see where people are touching paper, and then understand how frequently that happens.
Mm-hmm.
How frequently are you touching that paper? It's a great way to understand these next three principles, which Yvonne's going to go after. These are the kind of if you have one checklist that you use each time, this is the checklist I would use for adoption of AI in your organization.
So yeah, the way we suggest a company approaches this is look at what you're doing often. And by often, what we mean is every week, several times a week. And if that process is SOP-fied, if it's a more or less specific process, and even if the SOP exists in somebody's head and it's not documented outside of that, but if it follows certain rules, and if there could be attached a clear number, a before number and after number, so we know it's working and it's doing its purpose, then that would be the definition for, yes, this is something that could be given to these systems and be automated and taken away from a human, where the human can now do what they enjoy doing and what they're really good at, instead of dealing with messy inputs and trying to create a structured output out of that. And so maybe now you're asking yourself, well, that sounds very good, but how do I do that? And I'm glad you asked, because we've prepared this handout sheet that Tom will email you after this session. And together with it, there will be a zip file. And this zip file is a specific skill. You will take this skill, and the instruction is very simple. You will put it into the chat box of whatever tool you're using, and it will guide you in a 10-minute process with a few questions to help you determine if there are candidates in your business as far as processes that are candidates to be automated now or not yet. And it will honestly determine what's not to be touched at this point, and humans should still continue doing that for now. But the big takeaway from this is, everywhere where there's a messy input and that has to be converted into ordered output, that could be automated. Yeah. So John, if you want to go to the next one.
Yeah. So as Tom alluded to, we're going to go to some case studies and show you kind of practical application of this, exactly what we talked about. So here's a problem statement. So we'll start with a problem statement, kind of what we've done and where the human is in the loop, because we're very sent on that, because there are really kind of like 4 things that AI will not take over or cannot at this time, and one of them is judgment, right? So we're a believer in human in the loop, because for the judgment, there's governance as well as relationships. Is another one that we think is, these are all and design, like the way that things look, like feng shui and stuff like that. Those are hard for AI to really figure out. So those are the kind of the 4 things. But in this statement, in this case study, there was a CRM system that a company had that had a bunch of leads that had been worked and where they had either done a discovery call or been in communication with them via email. Never led to a discovery call, but it got most of the way there. These haven't been touched in over a year, so they're dormant. What we did was we went into the CRM system, scraped those leads to understand them. Then the salesperson that was in charge of business development for this, we helped understand the way that they write emails, and then we also looked at the conversations they were having with these folks, as well as did research on these folks. All through automation. Then it would create emails that were sent through this person. So that person would receive it and say, "Hey, I'm following. It's been a while. I'm following up," and whatever their email tone is. And then if and when they received a response, this person would get an email back. Or if they were using Slack, they would say, "Hey, you have a response." Whatever means that they do it against their process, and then they would take over as the human and run the discovery call. So again, human in the loop, automation throughout everything. But human taking over at some point, or providing judgment. Yvonne, do you want to talk about?
Yeah, just quickly mention the scope of this is quite large, well, depending on the viewpoint, but these were over 2,000 warm leads sitting there and nobody was contacting them. And so that's money that's sitting on the table in potential contracts, but these contracts will never be signed unless somebody follows up. And as John mentioned, it's been more than a year, and these warm leads are getting cooler and cooler because nobody's contacting them to follow up. And there is a previous communication to that. So John said already, what we did was we trained the system to understand how this particular salesperson writes and their specific tone and style of communication, because it was trained on the voice of the person, but also on the previous emails, specific emails with these warm leads. And so the system would pull specific facts from the previous communication, and it will also wrap it in the voice of the salesperson who the candidate companies, the potential leads, have already communicated with. And so it sounds completely natural, and it's sent from the inbox of that specific person. So they recognize the inbox, they recognize the company name, and so the scope is very narrow. If you see at the bottom of the slide, it's doing one thing. It's reactivating dormant leads. That's what the system is doing, nothing else. The number is very clear. Nobody was contacting these leads before that. What we're measuring is a number of replies to a number in relation to how many emails we've sent. And replies means I'm interested, send me more information, or let's have a discovery call. That is our KPI with this, and human is in control, because when somebody replies, then the human follows up personally. The machine no longer intervenes there.
Gotcha. So with is it possible then, and I'm just asking this question because I don't know, that you can design a system that could potentially replace a traditional CRM, or would this be dovetail with a CRM, like a Salesforce or something like that?
In this particular instance, we use the client's system, CRM system, which is HubSpot. So both are possible. I mean, everything is pretty much possible these days. Even things that weren't possible before, they're possible now. So the short answer is yes, but in this particular instance, we hooked up to their HubSpot.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, there's Tom, to echo that, there's a lot of like hype now. You know, there at least there was like 3 months ago. I'm sure some people maybe in this in the webinar use a software called Monday, but when AI started rapidly increasing in its capabilities, there was a report that some journalists recreated the functionality of Monday using Claude, and the stock dropped like 20. The stock dropped like 25% because of that. So you can now, I don't know about the functionality comparison. So that's just, it was a headline. That's what it was, but it was interesting nonetheless.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and that was 6 months ago with
6 months ago, yeah.
Previous frontier models. I think it was Opus 4.6.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
For 1 hour, they recreated Monday.com with just, I think, $2,000 of tokens, something like that.
Mm. So with those emails, does the human still have the option to preview those before you click send, or
Yes.
does the system get good enough that you just trust it and let it go?
I'm glad you asked this, Tom. Yes. So the way the system was designed to work was, for the first 150 to 200 emails, it would design the copy for each lead, and these copies would be verified and reviewed by the actual salesperson and approved, or suggestions for edits. So the system was trained additionally based on what was approved and what was not approved and why. And so within 150, 200 emails, within a couple of weeks, the system understood exactly what it needs to do, so that the success rate of approval was over 90%, and then the human could step out.
Yeah, it's crazy. It actually learns, you know.
Yeah, it does. One of the I'll add on this, because I always look at the stuff from the business side of things, and you know what I love about like this kind of case study is it's applicable to something else. So you can apply this to, if it, let's say it's not dormant leads, let's say it's customers that you haven't sold enough to, or that or you haven't contacted, but they bought from you a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
that you can create something to say, hey, we noticed you haven't ordered in a while. I know you're on these projects because it's done the research and stuff like that, and say we would love to help you. How could let's set up some time to talk. You already have an existing customer that now you've refreshed.
Yeah. Yeah.
One last thing on this, close to the bottom in the third section, the human line, it says we run our own outbound this way. Yes, we do. And we do. We have a cold outbound system that doesn't sound anything like cold, but we've built this for us as well. So we're using it. Yeah. We like to say with John, we eat our own dog food.
Oh, that's great.
So here's another example of what can be done. So this is if anybody's in the service industry, this is applicable because there's always a proposal, and then there's a contract sent. And in this, we had a customer that came to us that they were constantly rekeying. Again, what's the scope? I'm constantly rekeying my notes, either from the conversation that I had with the customer, site visit, site walk with the customer, into a proposal template, sending it to the customer. If the customer approves or modifies, then we modify or approve, and it goes to our contract template, and we modify that, manually by keying it in. What we've done here for them is we have a template that they fill in when they're having that conversation with the potential customer, the site walk or whatever. They have the template. They fill that in. It automatically populates the proposal. Then, once the proposal goes to the customer, if the customer says modify, the modifications are sent, or it says approved. And then it automatically populates the contract either with approval or with the modifications. And Vanya, I don't know if you want to touch on that.
Just one sentence at the bottom. Narrow scope. That's it. It only does one thing. It creates proposals and contracts from messy input. Again, just one thing. Very narrow scope. Clear number. It's saving hours every week from not having to do this manually, and hours are money. Yeah. And human in control, yes, because when the system creates the proposal or the final contract, the agreement, the human still can verify, go over it, and if there are any touch-ups that need to be made, they can make these touch-ups, or if they approve right away, they can send it to a customer, but the system doesn't send it. A human still has to press the button for this to go to the customer. And by the way, we're going to demo this, so I don't need to say more because the demo will show it.
Yeah, this is really I'm honestly, just with our firm, we're at a point now where we're looking at hiring somebody to help us with proposals and some other things, and to think that there might be an option, because we spend hours a week writing proposals, and some of them are just super simple. Other ones are pretty complicated, and but that might be a solution for us to consider for sure. So yeah, I love it.
So the next, again, case study. Again, the lens of this is we're trying to be practical here, and how do you apply, right, AI? This is a more recent for us. Customer came to us to say, hey, we get 100. This is a large mining company that ships aggregates via railroad. And so they say we get 50 to 100 invoices a week, and sometimes even a day, depending upon the volumes that they're shipping from this single vendor. It goes into an email. There's 2 AP clerks that key these into their ERP every single day. So what we've done here, and Yvonne will go into the kind of the scope, the work here, but instead of the email going to them, it's going to the AI automation, and then it's populating it into their ERP, and it's had an unintended benefit that we didn't even kind of realize in the beginning, because they told us their process. They told us when due to fuel surcharges or whatever, there's sometimes the rates aren't perfect and they have to go to this other part, which we trained it to do. but we didn't realize that it would also capture something else. And I'll let Yvonne talk to that.
Yeah, so again, a very narrow scope process. This vendor sends the email. The email has the invoice attached as a PDF file. It's always one file, but it could be 1 to 5 to 50 invoices in just one PDF file. So the system had to be trained to recognize and separate one PDF file into the many invoices. Then the system matches these to the purchase or to the correct purchase orders in the system. It enters in the system what the human is supposed to enter, and it stages it for a human to come in and quickly glance and say yes and release. But the system does not release a staged entry in the system, in the accounting system. So what we also designed in the system is, and the system is watching for it because it's calculating all the time. It's recognizing the images in the invoice, it's calculating. We don't want to go into the technical stuff, but it flags anything that's unbilled or misbilled items. And so when it's under, then the system pauses because it knows that maybe not all the invoices have come yet. But if it's over, then the system flags this, and it has happened before where the vendor unknowingly probably didn't use the exact terms from the contract with our client and overcharged on a set of invoices, and it was a very significant overcharge. So this should be caught by the human, but it might slip, but the system can never let it slip. So it flags it for a human. Hey, this is an overcharge. And so this is not only measured in hours saved, which for this specific company with just this one vendor is, I think it was 3.5 hours every week for these 2 employees to be keying in manually, but also potential not being overcharged thousands of dollars every month. So very, very valuable. And the humans, they're still needed because they get to do what they're actually good at instead of keying in information. These are senior specialists who have been in this specific company for over 10 years, both of them. The last thing they should be doing is manual keying in from PDF files and emails into a system. And so now they get to really do accounting and bookkeeping instead of doing this. But the system is built in a way, I have to say, we have not fully released the system to do what the system is designed to do. Now the system is working in a parallel process with their own process. And that's how we build everything. We build it to the side, then we turn it on, and the system does exactly what it's supposed to do, but it sends a summary, a digest to the client saying, this is what we would have done if we were to go all the way and enter in the system. Now their department has already done it, their AP department, and they can quickly compare and go, yeah, that matches, that's what we did manually. So it matches. So now both systems, the manual old system is still running the way it was running for all these years, and our system is running in parallel, and they're getting these digests, and we give it several weeks. And when the client is satisfied, yes, the system is getting everything right consistently, let's flip the switch.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'll tell you, the one thing I see, and we have a lot of small business clients, is they need somebody in accounting who is a strategic level person, whether it's a controller, type person. However, that they can't afford to have more than one accountant. So you have this controller person that is doing accounts receivable, accounts payable, and these really mundane tasks, and it drives them crazy because they're not being stimulated, they're not being challenged. So I can really see AI helping supplement controller type person for a small business that will really allow that person to get out of the weeds and start thinking strategically for the company. So I like it.
That's such a great point, Tom. It's like I talk to business owners and executives all the time about this. Like it's you need to have the strategy. The strategic seat needs to be on your team as far as controllers or CFO.
Hmm.
But yes, you're right. In small organizations, it's hard to say, okay, I'm going to pay for that, and also have my clerk.
Hmm.
And so if you can get somebody that, hey, the clerking stuff is done by automation, now you can hire
Hmm.
somebody that's a CFO
Yeah.
controller level to think strategically with you about your business, about growing your business, about saving money, about all those things that are so crucial.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it a lot.
Yes, this is a good place for me to mention. I know a lot of businesses and people, employees, are afraid that this technology will replace them. Actually, replaces the work that we shouldn't be doing. The
Hmm.
low level, entry level work that somebody who has spent 5, 10, 20 years studying and deepening their craft in a specific field, they're not happy doing this entry level work. They should be doing what they really thrive on. So what these systems will allow us to do is to become the orchestrators of these processes and oversee and direct the work of these
Hmm.
systems instead of doing the manual work. So it's removing the grunt from our work. That's how we want to see it. It's not
Yeah.
replacing employees. It's giving the employees an opportunity to do what they love doing, what they're good at.
Yeah. That's so true. I really like that. And that, that is another thing that everybody's nervous about too. Is like, is this going to cost people's jobs?
Hmm.
And of course there's going to be some efficiencies. At some point, I would imagine. But like right now, I can't think of a client that has rolled out AI for some of the tasks that you explained that they've ended up laying people off
Yeah.
as a result of that. So,
I think actually the opposite is happening. I think this is a
Yeah.
statistic. They're actually hiring more people so that the opportunities to do a lot more work, 10 to 50 to 100 times the magnitude of before, with just new people who are orchestrating these systems.
hmm. Hmm. Yeah, yeah. No, well, thanks,
If you want
guys.
to go to
That's
the
really good.
next one, maybe.
Yep. Hmm. So this is something that, transparently, we have not implemented this, but I do know of a company that has done this, and I thought it would be a good case study here because I've seen it in action, and I know this is something that it would be perfect for AI use. So this is something that, hey, if you have a growing business that you're having to hire for roles, weekly, right? Um, Everybody knows how many resumes you get in. It could be as much as 150 per. I mean, Tom, what's the average? Do you know what the average is
Of
for
how many
for a
resumes
role?
come in for
Yeah,
a
about how many
position?
resumes?
Okay,
Yeah.
so it varies. That varies a lot. But let's just say that it's a higher level, like maybe it's administrative assistant or something
Hmm.
like that. It's not uncommon to get 100 resumes in a week for a position like that.
Yeah, in 1 week. So 100 resumes in 1 week, and typically that burden is either falling on a staff member of HR or HR director or the hire and the hiring manager, whomever that is. So that's a problem. This because when you're reading all those resumes, you're going through them. A strong candidate can get buried in that resume search,
Hmm.
and so what you can create here is a screening engine for resumes. So you can use AI to basically come up with criteria that are important to you. What are the attributes of this person that are going to be, fit our culture, that are going to be, and that are going to be successful in this role? I mean, I'm a fan. Truth be told, I'm a big fan of, like, of EOS, and so, like, get it, want it, do they have the capacity to succeed, right? So those are the things that I look at, and you could build those attributes in there to really kind of filter out and say, do these people, will they get our culture? Do they have the drive to want it? And do they have the capacity to succeed? So they have the wherewithal,
Yeah.
and then you find the patterns, and the automation will flag out of that 100 resumes, it'll flag the 10 that it thinks the best, then the human comes in
Hmm.
because they're the experts, right? So they're going to use their judgment and go through and say, okay, Sally works, Ken doesn't, and in that process, we're going to go back to what's been done with the outbound in our case study number one. That's
Hmm.
where we use training, so it would populate, hey, this didn't work because of X, Y, and Z. So we're feeding the AI automation engine, and it's learning based on the judgment of the human in the loop.
Yeah.
So it gets better and better each time.
Yeah. Yeah, and when we've had lots of discussions about this in HR circles, right? And there's pros and cons that are still being ironed out a little bit,
Hmm.
right? So, one could argue that AI is great because it cuts out your biases, your prejudices that you might have. But on the other hand, AI learns from humans, right? So some of those biases can be factored into
Hmm.
its decision making, right? So those are things that again, within the HR field, there's lots of discussion about that, but the time saving is just great because with recruiters, for a recruiter to go through 100 resumes, it's daunting, it's boring, and I find when I do recruits, when I first get through the first 20, I'm really, really looking at them comprehensively. But by the time I get to the 30th one, I have a very short attention span, so I might not be screening them as good as I was with the first 20, right? So um, that would not happen with AI, right? I mean, it doesn't get tired, or bored like Tom does. So yeah.
Yeah, these are great points, Tom. I'm glad you mentioned them. Looking at the bottom of the slide again, because this is the common theme. Narrow scope, yes, it's doing this one thing. It's helping shortlist the candidates in a masterful way. Clear number, we can absolutely imagine that this saves a lot of hours. But to Tom's point, how many submissions can you look at without by the time you get cross-eyed, and what's the success rate after you get tired? So we're limited in how much we can do. And so do we apply the same quality at resume 30 that we applied at resume 1 through 5? Probably not. Whereas AI can digest everything in 1 second, and it's with the same rigor from the first to the last one.
Yeah.
And I would submit that a second clear number would be the quality of the candidates. That's a very good number
Yeah.
to measure.
Yeah.
And of course, the human always stays in control. When the AI or the system says these are good candidates, of course, the human will verify that and apply the judgment.
Yeah, that's great. Hey, just a reminder to everybody listening here, if you have questions, please put those in the chat because we'll be getting to those pretty soon here. Okay. So great.
Yeah.
So great. So
Okay.
for the
Go ahead, Tom.
again, for the beginner, right?
Hmm.
And maybe still using paper files, right? What's the first step, and what what should I not buy?
Okay, great question, and we're prepared to answer this question. But again, we don't want to start thinking in complexities. What I would do, and what I would suggest that you do, is just pick one specific tool. And by tool, I mean we personally use Claude a lot, but it doesn't matter which one the tool is. It could be Claude, it could be ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot. It doesn't really matter. All of them are good. And all it takes is a $20 subscription, monthly subscription. Then apply this habit that we're teaching here. What is a process that you're doing frequently? And this process could be attached to a number so that we have a very clear KPI that we monitor. And we always keep a human in the loop to do the final judgment. And again, we're not just going to leave it very vague like this. You're going to receive this one zip file with a skill. You don't have to unzip it. You don't have to do anything with it, but download it to your computer and then drop it in that chat box of whatever tool you chose or you already are using. Just drop it in, hit enter. The AI will read the skill. The skill is already programmed to turn the AI session into a guide. And this guide will take not more than 10 minutes to guide you through several questions process, and it will feed the new questions based on the previous input you gave it and the answers. So it's going to ask you some things about your company and the processes currently in your company. And within 10 minutes, you'll get a very clear report that says this process and this process, these two are, for example, very good candidates for automating, but these ones are not. And so you might be thinking, wow, this is something that I would love to automate. But if it doesn't make economic sense, the AI system will tell you this is not a good candidate right now to automate. And so you don't have to buy anything else other than just this one subscription. You probably already have it. You don't have to hire any company. Don't even hire us right now. Find out what's a good candidate to automate with this one tool, this one skill, and the one pager sheet that you will receive with this email. Monitor over a week or two and confirm and verify that yes, this is something that I do often. This is something that has a very clear ROI, and there is a human in the loop always here. And so that's the entire process. That's it. And
I just want
to say a couple of words on that last line here at the bottom: judgment, relationships, liability, and creativity. This is where AI does not go right now. And John covered this a little bit in the beginning, but just to say a couple more words. I'll start from in reverse order. Creativity. AI seems to be, or shows up as, extremely creative these days. But the only reason is it holds facts from trillions of data points from us humans. It basically has studied all our outputs so far. And so it can hold all of this in its head, let's say. And it can connect dots within a milliseconds between all of these trillion points and see and notice patterns. But that's how far its creativity goes. It does not have access to insight, intuition, ideas. We humans do. And a clear example is many of us, or probably all of us, have gotten an aha moment or an idea, a great idea in the shower. Where do these ideas come from? We don't know. Nobody knows. But wherever they come from, probably where Edison got his idea about the light bulb, where Einstein got his ideas about general and relativity. And we don't know where these ideas come from. We don't know where insight comes from, but we know AI doesn't have access to that. And so in this sense, creativity is still a domain of biological intelligence, not synthetic intelligence. That might change, but for right now, we're still the creative species here, truly creative species. Liability, of course, if AI does something, it doesn't have personhood. The person is responsible, not the AI. Relationships, this is still a domain of humans. We cannot outsource creating and nurturing relationships. The art of relationships and relating is still a human domain, and I sincerely hope that it stays a human domain, and we don't forget that. And finally, judgment. Of course, this is the point about a human in the loop, but I have something, some of you might have caught this from couple of months ago, around judgment. Somebody decided to test the frontier models and Claude and ChatGPT at the time with a very simple prompt. And it said, I need to wash my car. The car wash is 100 yards away. Should I walk or should I drive? Both frontier models said, you should walk, and here is why. By the time you get to your car, drive it to the car wash, you're gonna waste more time than if you just walked over there. And by the way, you're gonna waste gasoline as well. So it doesn't make any sense to drive. Well, wait a minute, how do I wash my car? if I walk there. So enough about judgment. AI does not have common sense.
Yeah. Well, hey guys, let's keep moving along here because we do have a couple questions too. But
perfect.
So why don't we just jump into I guess real quick, when should somebody not use AI? Like, or when is it not appropriate? And I probably could tie that into one of the questions that was asked, and that was what parameters should a company take when implementing AI solutions to protect their confidential business information? So maybe you can weave those two together.
So yeah, we already covered this. These were the 4 points I gave. That's where AI shouldn't be going. And this is a very broad case. Of course, I didn't talk about any specifics, but what was the question? Do you want me to address the question now or come back to it later?
We'll cover it at the end. Yeah,
okay, great. So John, do you want to go back to this slide?
Yep.
Yeah. Why don't you show us one of these things working?
Before you started, John, just one sentence. So this is a very short 6-minute or so demo of one of these showcases that we demonstrated to you, or we talked about. That's a very narrow scope. But the second part of the presentation here, or this demo, will be about a different AI application that's a very wide scope, and we haven't talked about that. But let's see the video first, and maybe we can chat about it. Here, I'm going to demonstrate how the paper to system works. I'm going to demonstrate a very specific flow that pretty much every business owner can relate to, and this is creating proposals and contracts. In this specific instance, the company is an EV charging installation company on the East Coast, and the client is Lehigh Valley Precision. This is a fictitious company, so nothing what you see here from the data is real. It's all made up. It's a fictitious company. But I wanted to demonstrate this for you because it's a very clear example that a lot of business owners can relate to, that demonstrates how the manual typing and contract and proposal creation is completely replaced. Something that takes hours to create is completely replaced by a system that just takes a few seconds to create everything. So the way it starts is the field person from the EV charging installation company, let's say they go to the client's site or the potential client site, and they inspect and take notes, or they take the input from an online form, let's say, and they create an intake document, which they have a template for, and the template guides them to put the client's name here, the site, the contact's first name, the full name, title, address, phone number, email address, then the situation in a few words, the main requirements, the decision drivers, and notes. The second document that the system expects is the main numbers being put into a spreadsheet. So for this specific case, it's how many chargers, how many terminals, and the charging stalls, and what type of charger, and everything else is already pre-built and it calculates automatically. And so our system just doesn't calculate any numbers, it just takes from here. So going back to the first folder, once the field person puts in the notes, the system then will run, and within a few seconds it will create a proposal. So here we go. The proposal should show up in a few seconds here. Okay, the proposal just came in, the system created it. Now I'm going to open it so you can see in a separate tab how this proposal looks like. It's styled to the client's standards. Everything that was in the initial notes and the price sheet is already here, and it's using the voice of the company itself. So the system has studied previous contracts and proposals and knows exactly how they sound, so it's using the same voice. Okay, the chargers, the type of chargers, everything is here. All of this was filled out by the system based on the notes, the scope of work, the pricing, and now scrolling down to the table, this is also taken from the price sheet. And so everything is finished, and this is now ready to be saved, let's say, as a PDF file or sent to the client just like that. So the next step would be for the client to come back with, yes, we are okay with this proposal, or no, we have some amendments to make, and here's how we want things to change. And if there is agreement, the next step would be for the person representing the EV charging company to create an acceptance note. And this is a very simple note. I'll show you how it looks like. It's basically a free text. It looks exactly like this. Here in this instance, the terms were accepted with negotiated changes confirmed by the person. And so now the system expects this acceptance document to be here. And just so that it runs, I'm going to change the name to exactly what the system is expecting to find, which is I have to remove this part. And as soon as I save it, within a few seconds, we will see the final contract that will be ready to be sent to the customer. And the contract just appeared in our Google Drive folder. I'm going to open it now for all of us to take a look at it. And it again has the template of the company itself and everything that was in the initial notes and the secondary notes with what changes needed to be made is now here in this contract. Of course, it has the legal language of the company. It has the same pricing table, and it's ready for signature. So now the EV charging company can send this to the customer to sign. All right, what you see on my screen here is my personal iPhone. You also see my Google Calendar, and on this Google Calendar, there are a couple of my own calendars as well as my partner's calendar right here. I'm showing you my calendar because I want you to see what happens. But usually when I do what I'm going to do right now, I don't look at my calendar. I just look at my phone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask my personal AI employee by the name Apollo, that's the name of my personal AI employee, to go and check on my partner's calendar for a specific date. For this example, it'll be August 27th. And for a specific time window and see if my partner John Ziss is available within this specific time window for 30 minutes. And if he is, I will ask my AI employee to book a 30-minute meeting with John. So let's see how this happens. I will open my Telegram where I access my AI employee, Apollo, and I'm going to say this. And now we're waiting. So my AI employee will go to work now, and I'm going to pause the video right here, and I'll show you what happens next. Okay, you can see the meeting is already booked. Let's see. I've placed a private hold on your personal calendar with a Google Meet link. Confirm, and I'll send the invite to John Ziss. Confirmed. And here's the output from Apollo. Booked and invited John, Thursday the 27th, this time. So it found when both of us are free, this window right here, and it booked the meeting for both of us. And the meeting just showed up on John's calendar as well. You can see it right here. So I didn't have to do anything. I just told my AI employee what to do, and it went and did it for both of us. So none of us had to do anything.
That's amazing. That's just amazing. I know I spent a ton of time on calendar management, so something like that makes a whole lot of sense. So again, guys, thank you so much. This has been a great session. I can't thank you enough, and for everybody who's on the call, appreciate you being here. And we'll get you the summary of the presentation here soon, along with the attachments that Ivan spoke about. So thank you all very much for joining, and hope you all have a great rest of your day. Thanks again.
Thanks for having us, Tom.
Ivan, take care.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.